Yo. All right. Today, I want to tell a story about the time I spent with Ampersand yesterday. So, they're a company that does both deep go to market integrations and a breadth of market integration. So, 150 different, their integrations as a service, 150 different integrations and a very deep level of integration. So, things like real time sync and error monitoring and managing the complexities of managing multiple integrations. So, for example, if you're Clay and you integrate with Salesforce and your customer integrates their Salesforce with Clay, well, each instance of that integration of customer Salesforce plus Clay has variability to it. But let's talk about this from a go-to-market challenge perspective, because, and I specifically want to talk about a lot of these go-to-market automation products and how I think that they would go about trying to solve Ampersand's go-to-market challenge and how we actually did it. And that delta there, I think, is an opportunity for a product to be less confident about what it can do, and in doing so, allow its users and also by extension their customers to provide better behind the door data to improve the process. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the types of challenges where we landed here and how we're going to think about their current go-to-market process so that I can help you think about reverse engineering this if you're building one of these go-to-market automation products. All right, let's dive in. So they just really revamped their homepage. So they spent a lot of time on this. It looks great. Now, if I was an AI agent, the thing that I would do is I would look at this and say, okay, great. So they have all these connections to all these go-to-market stack, and I might be able to identify that they are going wide and deep. But the problem with that is that this product exists in the context of a very mature but not very capable market. Or market tools, essentially. So that there are a lot of other companies that offer this, but they don't do nearly the type of depth or breadth that Ampersand does, because they have a bunch of unique insights in how they built this. So I can't go to the market and say, hey, we add more integrations and we do them deeper, because that message all of their competitors can send. So we have to figure out how can we send an even better message. So we're starting just with their Salesforce integration. They've spent a lot of time on this. And the thing is that something that this page doesn't really talk about are all of their bespoke benefits. And I'm just going to talk about some of them. So some of these bespoke benefits are bidirectional syncing, so you can sync at faster rates. Saving me money and time from that sync. So making sure that your API calls are optimized. Object and field mapping. So you can make sure that you're only sharing the fields like Clay's integration with Salesforce for an individual customer. Only the fields that Clay needs access to will be shared. So that's like a huge compliance benefit. Manage authentication. So apparently there's a bunch of authentication challenges. Alerting and troubleshooting. So basically allowing non-technical users to understand what's going wrong with the integration. Compliance, we talked about that. The real-time data. So generally if you're building a Salesforce integration, it takes 15 minutes. And basically you can determine which columns of data and which rows of data that you want. Now, for these AI go-to-market tools, you can't tell that from this website. Now, does Ampersand want to make sure that you understand that as a value prop? Sure. But remember, they have to talk about all of these other integrations, right? So they can't devote that level of clarity yet. I mean, they just launched the website. I shouldn't really take a shit on them to this. But so the problem is, okay, great. So now that I've captured that insight, and there's something here, but then that's secondary insight. Well, now what we need to do is we need to be able to figure out who has a version of this problem. So now we have a translation problem, and that translation is from features to how the market talks about the inverse of that problem. So let's, for example, look at active campaign. In URL integrations. I'm just going to do this in the way that we do this at scale. And in URL Salesforce. So they don't have a Salesforce integration directly. And let's actually make sure that that's a true statement. Okay, Salesforce integration. So there's help articles, which is not amazing, right? This is not an integrations page. But, okay, sync contacts, sync between platforms, bidirectional sync, great. So now we have some understanding that they're doing that. Okay, so they're saying it doesn't run classic. Oh, so this basically means it's not a native product integration, which, like, how would you know that? You have to understand that that lingo. Lead and contact page, so to only one active campaign account, right? Like, okay, well, that could be a challenge. The fact that you have to have an email address, also a challenge. Person accounts. So you can kind of see, like, okay, great. These are all of the challenges that they might have, that people might, complain about. So what am I going to do next? Well, a good rep will understand that active campaign app exchange, Salesforce. Let's see if I can spell. Salesforce. I spelled it like a Bostonian. Okay. So now we have a listing details for active campaign, right? Well, if I click on reviews, there are editing multiple emails can be cumbersome and less user-friendly. Initial integration hiccups. First few months. Random things breaking our environment. They don't follow rules, right? This is a recent review. And so you can kind of see that to follow this logic chain, I had to first capture information here that was not on the website. I had to capture that with my client, and I had to direct them in how we did this. And that was a live conversation. I guess if a product was doing this, they would conduct a really well architected interview with their customer and their customer's customers. Then I had to understand, where can I find, I had to basically create a translation matrix between how the market talks about the inverse of their benefit, right? The market talks about, like they say, bi-directional sync. Then what I have to do is figure out where else I'm going to research that, and then I have to put it all together. And you can see how this is possible, and we are doing this stuff with Clay, but it's not like it's in one place. It's not that it's easy to do. And so I think that if you're thinking about your go-to-market automation, first off, you're thinking about your go-to-market integrations, go chat with Ampersand. But if you're thinking about how would you automate this, how would you basically replace what Jordan is doing for Ampersand and allow a tool to do this, all of those steps must be followed in a certain order, and you have to have a pilot. Like, I just am really convinced that this AI SDR is not a viable thing, because at every point, unless you direct the model, and it keeps wanting to go off script, you're gonna fail. And that's why Clay is doing so well, because it's like, here's the instrument cluster. You take the stick. You determine where to fly. You write your flight path. We will help make sure that the elevator pitch works, that you can, that your air skies are cleared, but you have to determine where you want to fly. And I'm super skeptical of AI doing this, but do I believe that AI can drastically help here? Yes, I do. And do I believe that a great agent can pull in some of this information? Yes, I do. And do I believe that there's enough information on a company's website to do this well? No, I do not. But do I believe that this research, when well directed, could be extremely helpful as the starting point for a bunch of automation? Absolutely. And so if I were building one of these automated go-to-market tools, this is the process that I would follow to do it. Have a great day.